That's how I got so far.
Good start.
So let's get this out of the way. I have no strong opinions about Bob Dylan. I'm under the age of 40, and I never went through a folk phase in college. I know his music, that part is kind of inescapable, and in terms of being successful and influential, his status is unquestioned. But Dylan is one of those artists where the fan base is so dedicated that no hyperbole is too great, and ambivalence is akin to blasphemy. And while that's mostly through no fault of his own, Dylan has been cultivating this cult of personality for more than 60 years now, which makes a complete unknown a bit difficult to review, because if I say Timothée Chalamet does a great job, looks the part, captures Dylan's unique affect, and nails the singing performances, I mean it. But die-hard Dylan fans could just as easily hate it. I'm not sure. Some of the initial reactions I've seen have been positive, but I also heard two older gentlemen complaining as I left my screening. So if you want a review based on historical accuracy or how Chalamet stacks up to the man himself, you'll have to look elsewhere. I have neither the time nor the patience to dig through all things Bob Dylan, so I can only judge this as a movie. And as a movie, it's pretty good. When it comes to music biopics, I tend to invoke the Walk Hard test. If you haven't seen it, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story was a 2007 Judd Apatow project where John C. Reilly parodied the many music biopics that attempt to fold the lives of famous musicians into neat three-act structures. And the reason it aged so well is that Hollywood kept on pumping them out with the exact same formula that this was poking fun at over 15 years ago. A Complete Unknown thankfully passes that test, mostly because it doesn't try to recap the entirety of Dylan's career. Instead, its focus is on his earliest years, moving to New York City after high school, meeting his hero Woody Guthrie, and breaking out in the American folk music scene, ultimately culminating in the night he quote-unquote went electric at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival, seen as a pivotal moment in both his career and American music overall. It's when we get to that festival where the film is at its strongest. While the first two acts ask the audience to just sit and vibe with Dylan as he jumps from one major hit to the next across his first 5 albums, the film slows things down for the final 40-ish minutes to let the characters marinate on their decisions and relationships. I wouldn't be shocked if there was an earlier version of the script that was set primarily at the festival, though that would have meant fewer singing performances. Speaking of which, Chalamet knocks it out of the park on that front, though I do wonder if some will be left out in the cold regarding his portrayal, as the film deliberately keeps him at arm's length from the audience, just as he does to so many of the people around him. Most of Dylan's outlook and perspective relies on Chalamet's subtle facial expressions rather than what's written on the script. He pulls it off, though there were one or two occasions where I wish the writing gave him a bit more to work with, or at least more to say. Based on the movie, director James Mangold's ultimate thesis about Dylan was that his first and only love was to music, and anything remotely resembling restrictions on that was met with contempt and dismissal. Whether it's Pete Seeger's well-meaning adherence to tradition, the record companies not being interested in his original songs, or being mobbed by fans as his fame grew, if it's holding him back, he wants no part in it. He even feels shackled by his own backstory, freely making up a new one to better suit his persona. Even his relationships face this issue. Elle Fanning plays a fictionalized version of his first wife, while Monica Barbaro nearly steals the whole movie as fellow folk legend Joan Baez. Dylan has on-again, off-again relationships with both, and while their dynamics are different, both come to the conclusion they'll never be a priority for him the way music is. It's why the climax is presented as a moment of triumph for Dylan. Half of the Newport crowd is pelting him with garbage, the promoters are fuming backstage, but all he wants to do is break from tradition and play with electrified instruments and a full band, and he remains unmoved by the backlash and winds up better off for it. Look, whether or not A Complete Unknown is accepted or dismissed by both Dylan fans and the end-of-the-year awards circuit is a debate I'm sure will unfold in the coming months, but the film is unquestionably another entry in the growing list of strong Chalamet performances, and lands in the good section of the music biopic subgenre. However you do or don't feel about Bob Dylan, this one is worth a look. Thanks for watching.